Okay, fine. So this is the chapter 2, which is your assembler. Okay, so before that, this is the content what you have to learn in the chapter 2. It is 2.1, 2.2, and 2.3, 2.4. Okay, so in 2.1 you will be learning what is basic assembler functions, and where you learn the assembler algorithms and the data structures. And in tomorrow afternoon class, you will be learning machine dependent assembler features. That's your different instruction formats and the addressing modes. That is your pass 1 and pass 2. Okay, so here along with this you will be learning pass 1 and pass 2 for SIC and SIC-XC machine. Okay, and the next topic what you will be learning is program relocation, because the heading itself says it is machine dependent. Okay, so once I run my program on a different machine, so how do I make the program relocation, or if that particular memory is not available, what exactly happens? Okay, that is nothing but your program relocation. And coming to 2.3, which is your machine independent assembler features. So irrespective of your program relocation, these things will never change. Okay, so that is your literals, expression, program blocks, and the control sections. And the last part is assembler design options. So you will be learning how exactly one pass assembler and a multi-pass assembler works. Okay, so we'll start with the 2.1. So that's your the assembler. So if you remember your language processing system, okay, I've taught in the first class of the compiler design, which says that source program, that is if you have written in Java, okay, that source program is given as input to the compiler, and compiler will output what type of code? ASM code, right? So here my source program is not .java, it is .asm file. Okay, so .asm file is given as input to the assembler, and assembler will generate the object code, which is in the form of binary. Okay, .obj file will be created, and which is again given to the linker and loader. Okay, so when you have any linking that is .h files or any other integration, so you link all those stuff, then load onto the operating system, that is memory. Okay, that time your process will be created. Okay, when you learn in operating system, you talk in terms of process, correct? No, so what is that process? When I load onto the memory, OS will give one process for that, that is particular memory location. So then that will be executed onto the on the main memory. Okay, so what exactly assembler? Okay, so what exactly it does? So if I show you this, can all of you can see this file? All of you can see the word file? Yes, somebody has to say whether you are visible.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Yes,
if
ma'am.
the word file is
Yes, ma'am.
visible, is the word file is visible?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
yes,
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 okay.
ma'am.
ma'am.
It's
So
visible.
Yes, ma'am.
this is
Yes,
your
ma'am.
ASM file. Okay, this is what you have learned in your microprocessor, right? In your microprocessor, you have learned, you have written, your all of you are well versed in writing the .asm file. So for example, I want to add, okay, I want to add two numbers, or I want to jump less than. So this is how the ASM output of my compiler is, the whole thing. Okay, line number will be there, and the location counter will be there, and your comment lines will be removed, all those stuffs whatever you have learned in lexical analysis. Okay, so then it will generate the ASM file. So if you see this, okay, so the ASM file will have these many attributes. Okay, so one I have to add here, the line number. Okay, so line number will be there, then along with that you have to generate the location counter, and these three are very important. Okay, label, then opcode and operand. Okay, so whatever you learn, this is output of my assembler. Okay, input to the assembler is only these three columns plus one more column, that is my line number, which will be added by the compiler. Okay, because you will get syntax errors, no, yes or no, at that particular line number. So your compiler will add the line numbers along with the ASM code. So label is just the variable name. Okay, that is your memory address. Okay, I'll have the memory address for that particular label. Then opcode, these are my opcodes. Okay, can your machine understand these opcodes? Of course not. Okay, I can understand this, but machine will never understand. I have to convert these opcodes into the respective machine instructions. And operands, what is this operands? For every opcode, I need an operand. It is optional. When you have R sub, do you have an operand over here? No, not at all. What is R sub? Return to the subroutine. Okay, in simple terms, the ASM code will have label, opcode and operand. Okay, the output of your assembler will be whole thing. Okay, the output of your assembler will be the entire thing what you will be learning tomorrow's class. Okay, fine. So this is the assembler part. So what exactly assembler does? So this comes for 4 marks at 4 marks. Okay, the design of an assembler. Okay, what are the operations it has to do? Okay, so that is, it will convert the mnemonic opcodes to their machine language. Okay, so for load A, my machine code is 00. Okay, how you write in MUP? No, if you have to press enter key, you say 10H. I hope I'm right. I don't remember the code. Okay, for enter key or read from the keyboard, you have some code. No, yes, I hope you agree with me. Yes, ba Mithun or Shanmugh. In MUP class, you will be writing the binary instruction, that is hexadecimal value for keyboard and for output device, or enter key 13H, 10H, like that. Okay, so you have to convert the operation codes to their machine language equivalent. Okay, so this is my opcode. I have to convert to its particular the machine instruction. Okay, that is 14. And the second function of your assembler is operands, right? So that's what I've shown here. It will have an operand, right? So what it has to do? Operand to their equivalent machine address. Okay, morning we did no target address. Yes or no? Yes, so target address, you hope you remember to morning class. So it has to convert to that particular address type. And the third function of the assembler is in the proper format. You have 4 formats, correct? No, in SICXC. So you have to put it in a proper format and specify their format also. Okay. So, and the next one is it will convert the data constant. Okay. Suppose I say int I equal to 20. Okay. Or you say the preprocessor directives, that is hash define pi 3.14. Okay, hash define pi 3.14. Whether 3.14 is stored as a variable? No, it is always stored in the data segment, correct? No, as a constant value. So if you have any constant values in your assembly code, you have to convert into equivalent hexadecimal. Okay, that is what the fourth function. And the last one is write the object program and load it and make it ready to load it onto the memory. Okay, that is your main memory. So these are the 5 functions which the assembler has to do. Okay, so this sometimes comes for 4 marks. So please do learn this. Okay, so this is the main function of my assembler. Okay, I hope all of you got what is assembler is. You have an ASM code which is given to the assembler. The output of the assembler is .obj file. Okay, so when I write any program, my program is test.java. If I press build, it is .asm. If I press run, it is my .obj file. Okay, then only that is loaded. Done ba? So if I have to do all these stuffs, I need some data structures. Of course, yes, right? So without data structures, you cannot lead your life, right? The same way assembler also needs some of the data structures. So different data structures available for the used by the assemblers are your op table, okay, then symbol table, then location counter value. Okay, what do you mean by op table? This is already built in with respect to that particular microprocessor. Okay, Do you remember this? As soon as I write my microcontroller or a microprocessor, I have to give what is the opcode for mnemonic instruction. Okay, that is, if I say add, what is the corresponding value for that? Okay, so that is visible like this. You have it in your book. Okay, this is nothing but my op table. I hope all of you can see. Yes, is this visible? Yes. Yes, Mithun?
No, ma'am. No,
It's
ma'am.
not,
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
now is it visible?
No, ma'am.
The
No, ma'am.
No.
op
Yes,
table.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. No.
Op table is visible? Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, okay, fine. So this is there in your book, Leland Beck, in page number 469, I feel, appendix A. Okay, fine, 469, 70, 71, 72 and 73. Till there, you have the op table. Okay, fine. So what is exactly op table? You have a mnemonic add, then it will tell me which format it belongs to, that is either format 3 or format 4, so that you will come to know whether it is your the 4 bytes or 3 bytes. Then the opcode, see here, the opcode for add is 18. Okay, and it will give me what exactly it does. It will add the content of the accumulator with whatever you have specified here, right, and store it in A. And next is at the end you have a note, so where it says XFC. Okay, so what is X is, it is used in extended format, and F stands for the floating point format, and C stands for your CC code. See here, this instruction is compare. Okay, compare the floating point number, that is with the register, floating point register, and this content. M stands for my memory. Okay, so the content of the memory is compared with the content of the floating point register, whatever you have stored. Okay, so when you compare it, you have to use what? CC, correct? No, I hope you remember SW register, right? So C stands for the CC code. If I have something like a P, okay, P is my privileged instruction. Okay, when you want to overlap some of the instruction, or when you want to do the input output halt. In the morning I've informed you people how exactly multitasking is done, that is multi-programming. So you are interrupting the one more process, right? So HIO, which is a format 1, and the opcode is F4, and it will halt the input output channel numbers, and it is privileged. Okay, it will never happen. Only when you want, you can do that. Okay, you have given the printing. Okay, I want to interrupt that in between. Okay, I just press Control Alt Delete or some whatever the function keys you use. Okay, so you are interrupting, correct? No, so your process will be killed based on the interrupt. So this is my privileged instruction. Okay, so that time the op table. Okay, is this visible now? Yes. Yes, Nisarga, is the notes is visible? Yes, ba, is the notes is visible? Participants,
Yes, ma'am.
this is visible, no?
Yes, ma'am.
The notes, okay, fine. So op
Yes,
table,
ma'am.
operation code table will have what? Mnemonic operation codes, machine language equivalent, and the instruction format and the length of that. Okay, and how exactly it is being used by your assembler is, your assembler, whenever I say assembler, it is always my pass 1 and pass 2. That should come into your mind. Okay, so during pass 1, it will validate whether that particular opcode is there in that machine. Okay, fine. So whenever you install any of the operations, we get the RFCs, correct? No, request for comment, or any that is rules or the protocols. This cannot be executed on this, or this addressing mode cannot be used. Okay, so those are nothing but once you build your microprocessor or the microcontroller, they will give all the set of instruction, what and all can be used and what cannot be used. So it will validate the opcode. So what do you mean by validating the opcode is, I've written add. Okay, fine. So I've written add. I've written, I don't need this. Okay, so I've written add. So it will check in the op table whether add is there or not. If it is there, then yes. If not, error flag will be set. Okay, that is what you are validating the opcodes. Finds the instruction length and adds into the location counter value. That is during the pass 1. What exactly it does in pass 2? It determines the instruction format. Okay, that is either 3 or 4, because you will be doing in pass 2 the object code creation. Okay, so when I need this, I need the length of this instruction, whether it is format 3 or format 4. So that time I can do over the pass 2. Okay, so that's why determines the instruction format and translate the operation code to their machine language equivalent. Okay, so how exactly this is been built? Okay, you're not building this, it's already built. Okay, once my chip is ready, so these are already built. Okay, it uses the static hash table, and that is easy for searching. Okay, this is the first and foremost data structure which we need for any assembler. Okay, the next data structure is my symbol table. Okay, so as you are already aware of in compiler design, what exactly a symbol table will hold? That is the variable name followed by the address, okay, followed by the data type, all those stuffs. Yes, I hope you remember, all of you. Yes, ba? Yes, all of you remember the symbol table in compiler design. Yes, yes or no? Yes, somebody has to answer. Okay, symbol table. The content of the symbol table will be label name. So as I said, when you talk with respect to the language, you call them as a variable. But when you talk with respect to the assemblers, you call them as the label names. What do you mean by label name? This. Okay. Jump to that particular. Okay, so that is my, you might have written calling the add method. Okay, that will hold some label. MUPI instruction will hold the label, right? So that's what the label name, label address, and flags to indicate error condition. Okay, that means if you have a duplicate, if it's already found, okay, if you are again trying to insert onto the symbol table, it says that it is duplicate entry. That's what in syntax errors you get, correct? No? Yes, I say that multiple declaration, right? Or the variable is not used, or variable is not found. Okay, variable is not found. So all those stuffs will be done over here. And the data type and length, actually this is very big. Okay, it's actually a 64 columns. Okay, so if you see your compiler design book, okay, the implementation of your symbol table, it's more than 64 columns. Okay, so this is the minimal requirement: label name, label address, and flags to indicate if it is not found. Okay, and the data type and the length. Okay, what exactly be done during pass 1? So you will store the label name and assigned address, okay, into the symbol table. In pass 2, this is my token. If I talk with respect to the compiler design, this is my tokens, lexemes, right? You call them as a lexemes, which you are finding the variables in the language, okay, our program. So those you make it into the symbol table. During the pass 2, what happens? During my syntax analysis, right, it will take the lexemes, that is variables from the symbol table, and do the processing. Same way here, symbols used as operands are looked up in symbol table. Okay, how exactly it is being implemented? It is done using a dynamic hash table, okay, and it should perform well with non-random keys. Fine, ba? So this is the structure, data structure, which is used by the assemblers. Okay, the last one is my variable location counter. Okay, so location counter is nothing but your PC. Okay, what is PC? Program counter. So what does it hold? The address of the next instructions to be executed. Okay, so if I share here, so I will be writing the location counter value for all these lines. Okay, fine, that's what you will be learning tomorrow at 3 o'clock. So how do I find the location counter of these instructions? Okay, fine. So I have an instruction called jump less than loop, right? Jump less than loop. Where do I jump to? I need an address. Do you agree? Yes. So I need address. So I need the location counter value. So that is done using pass 1. Okay. It is a variable. which gives the address of the associated labels. Okay, fine. So location counter is initialized to the beginning address specified in the start statement. Okay, that anyhow these things I'll teach tomorrow. Okay, so this one statement is enough. Okay, it holds the address of the associated labels. Okay, so these are the three different data structures which are used by the assemblers. So again this comes for 6 marks. Okay, 2 marks, 2 marks, 2 marks. Fine, ba? So operation table, different data structures used by the assemblers. Fine. So the next is, I hope it's clear. So I've written one more diagram, how exactly, whatever you learned no, just now. So this is in the pictorial format. So I have a data ASM file which is input to the pass1. What you learned as assembler is divided like this. Okay, this whole thing is my assembler. Done. So input to the assembler is .asm file and that is given to the pass1. What pass1 will use? Op table. Correct, no? Yes, I need an op table to create the location counter value, right? It will use the op table and it will generate the location counter value that is stored in symbol table. Okay, so using all these stuffs, it will write the intermediate file. That is one more file, okay, which will have the location counter value and the symbol table, everything. That is given to the pass2 and pass2 will look up the symbols in the symbol table and again it will look up the op table, okay, and it will validate and do the process. Okay, if I say add 2 comma 3, I have to validate add, which is already done by pass1. I have to validate 2 and 3. Okay, suppose if this is a variable add a comma b, so a and b has to be already declared and defined. All those stuffs has to be done. So it will do that and it will create me a object program. Okay, so this is ready to load onto the memory. Okay, so the output of the assembler is object program. This is your pictorial representation. Okay, inside. Okay, this is just the blueprint what I explained, assembler, linker, loader. So this is just the outfit. Okay, and what you have here is inside assembler what exactly it does. How you learn 7 phases of compiler, no? The same way you have to learn pass1 and pass2 of my assemblers. Okay, fine. So as I've already told, during pass1 it will create the symbol table and it will generate the location counter values. In pass2 it will create the object program. Okay, so the same thing I have written here. Done ba? So the next is, when I have to write or when I have to generate the location counter values and the symbol table, I have already built in directives. Okay, fine. So directives. So this again comes for 5 marks. If it comes for 5 marks, you have to write 5 directives. Okay, if it comes for 4 marks, you can write more than 4, but not less than 4. Okay, so different assembly directives which are present, okay, as we call them as keywords. We call them as keywords in language, no? We say int is a keyword, main is a keyword, void is a keyword, right? Which cannot be used as my variable name, right? The same way here, those are called as my assembly directives, okay? What are the different assembly directives which are available? You will not see in the beginning of your book only, okay? I think you will have only these 5 in the first beginning of your second chapter. Okay, 6. These things you'll get it later. Okay, as in when you learn your second chapter, you will be using all these stuffs. So I've written here only, okay, so that you will remember at least some 5. Okay, so if I go back here, okay, what is exactly, see here, start. Fine. Start is my assembly directive. So what does it indicate? It indicates to start the particular program or load the particular program at this particular address. Okay, so you have to tell the starting address. Okay, fine. If you don't specify, it will check whether 000 is available. If not, wherever it is available, it will allocate the memory for you. Okay, provided that the entire memory is available for that particular process. Okay, so start will indicate me the starting address of the program and end. See here, end, and you have the operand of this is my start directive. Okay, so that is first. Okay, where I have to, so end first, so this will indicate me that where exactly I have to start executing, where should the control should start from. Okay, so this is my program name. Okay, this is my program name, and this is my directive, and this is the starting address. Okay, and this end first, what it will indicate, once it is ready, where exactly you should start executing from. Okay, how we say that main is the entry point. Okay, main is the entry point to start your program or to execute your program. End indicates that which is the first instruction, from where should I start my execution. Okay, so these are your the assembly directives, start and end, and you have something called as a reserve word. Okay, what is exactly reserve word is RESW. Okay, so the name itself says reserve word. So you need to reserve these many words for some purpose. Okay, these many words I have to reserve on memory for some purpose. And one more assembly directive is word. Okay, so word is nothing but it is direct word what you are storing. It's nothing but your constant value. Okay, 0 is stored on this particular address. Okay, that is your on this particular label. So this will be stored 0. Okay, I'll repeat. Start is my assembly directive, then end is my assembly directive, reserve word is my assembly directive, and word is my assembly directive. At the same time you have reserve byte. Okay, reserve byte is an assembly directive. So what do you mean by reserve byte? You have to reserve those many bytes. Okay, so when I have this variable, what is the memory of that particular variable? These many bytes. Okay, fine. And byte is directly you're storing the constant value in my total. Okay, total, the type of that, how I say int, no? Yes or no? Int a. I say int a, right? So that will be converted to either integer, that is byte or word or double, like that. Okay, the same way here. Okay, so suppose I say int a, I have to reserve the integer. Suppose it is a 4 bytes. Okay, how many bytes you have to reserve for that particular a? You have to, it says that reserve byte 4. Okay, fine. I hope you're getting. I'll say here, that is in your program, I'll say int amount or int total. Okay, or table. I'll just write like this. Okay, fine. I'll write this now, int table. What do I mean by this? Table is a variable, right? And it is of type integer. And if I say integer is of type 4 bytes, how many bytes will be stored? From address 1000, suppose I say 1000, so it will be 1001 and 1002 and 1003. Correct? No? 4 bytes will be stored. If you assume that this is my starting address, so 1000, 1001, 1003, 2003. So when you see here, it will say that table reserve byte. Okay, I've written here reserve word for tomorrow's class. Okay, reserve byte. How many bytes I have to reserve? 4 bytes. Okay, the same thing. Fine. So suppose I say total equal to 10. Okay, so you're storing directly, no? Yes or no? 10 value is stored. Okay, so here see, word 10. 10 is stored directly. Fine, ba? So the constant value is stored directly, and byte will indicate me the constant value, what it has to be stored. That is EOF has to be stored. Okay, so that is your word. Okay, fine. So that is the different assembly directives. Okay, fine. So start, end. End indicates the end of the source program, and optionally specific the first executable instruction. Okay, that means you can have an end first If you don't have that, it is understood that it should start from the first instruction. Okay, this is my optional. Done. And the byte, as I've told already, word generates one word integer constant. Reserve byte reserves the indicated number of bytes for a data area. Okay, that particular memory, those many memory will be reserved. Okay, and reserve word and reserve byte. Okay, fine. So these things I'll just tell you when I teach the program blocks. Okay, if I tell you now, you will not understand because you are not using this in pass 1 and pass 2. Okay, is it okay, or you want me to tell now only? Yes, anybody there? You want me to tell now only? Hello? 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 Kaushik? Kaushik? Hello?
Hello.
So, is it okay if I teach L2RG equal to and all when it comes to your program blocks? Okay, these are my the regular ones which you will be seeing in your textbook. Okay, start, end, byte, word, reserve byte and reserve word. Okay, fine. So these four I'll use as and when it comes in your programs. Okay, and the next one is base. This is very important. Indicates that the base register will contain the address of the operand. Okay, this you have to learn now only, because if I say the base, if I use the directive as base, it indicates that base register. Okay, so you have to use your base relative pro addressing mode only. Okay, you cannot use any other addressing modes once I say that it is of type base directive. Okay, contains the address of the operand. Okay, never mind, you will be learning just a day after tomorrow. Okay, how exactly it works on SIC-XE machine. Okay, and once I say no base, that means that will be indicates that the content of the base register can no longer be relied upon for addressing. Okay, that means from there onwards you can use other type of addressing modes, that is PC relative. Okay, so these 8 if you learn for the exam, so that you will remember at least 5 to 6. Okay, done ba? So these are the different program directives what you have, that is like your the what is that, keywords. Okay, what we call in any programming language, in the same way we call them as a directives. Okay, so these are the different directives which you have a few more. Okay, I have not written over here, but once you learn your loaders and linkers, you can add over here. Okay, done. So we'll just see, we'll move on to the pass 1. I'll not explain all these stuffs. Okay, so these I've already explained here. See here, line number, how exactly your assembly program looks is line number, location, source statement, object code. Okay, this source statement is the label, opcode, operand, and if you have a comments. Okay, if you write any comments, it will be there. Okay, so that is what this. I have not added line number because you will get confused with the location counter value. That's why I have not added the line numbers over here. Okay, because you will be writing the location counter value. So hope you don't add this. You have to add the right end. Okay, so that's why I have not written the line numbers. But actually it will be line numbers. Line numbers will be added by compilers. Okay, fine. So location counter, then label, opcode, operand, and if you have a comments will be there, and the object code. Okay, so this is what your simple SIC assembler will look. The same SIC-XE also will be same. Okay, label, opcode, operand. Okay, now what are the advantages and disadvantages of my assembly language? If I use directly my assembly language instead of writing any high level language, okay, advantage is you can reduce the errors, okay, and faster translation time. Okay, fine. So changes could be made easier and faster. That's why if you learn your assembly language, you will be a good hacker. Okay, you can hack anybody at any point of time. So if you know the backend, okay, so those are the advantages. Disadvantages are many instructions are required to achieve a small task. Correct? No, if I write embedded C code, okay, if you read your Barshit, okay, that is embedded C, for writing, I just say scanf, okay, scanf for percentage D ampersand A. That is according to me, high level language. If you write that in low level language, that is assembly level language, what you have to do, 3 instructions, that is test the device, check whether it is ready, then only read the data, then store it on the accumulator. Of course, yes, that will be converted to that type only. But if you write as a programmer, if you write the assembly language directly, that is what are the advantages and the disadvantages are required to achieve small task. Okay. So source program tend to be large, of course, yes, okay, and programs are machine dependent, okay. So if the hardware is changed, that is if the configure is changed, then I have to rewrite the entire program, and knowledge of the programmer has to have the complete knowledge of the architecture, of course, yes, right, and the instruction set. So these are some of the advantages and disadvantages of writing the code directly in assembly language. Okay, so this I have already scanned and put it in the notes. Okay, as I said, what is this? What is this whole thing called? Somebody can tell? Participants. Hussein? Shanil, what is this called? Shanil? What is this picture is called?
Yes, ma'am.
What is this called, ba? Whatever I have scanned and
Yes,
kept
ma'am.
here, no? What is it? What is the name of this?
And the voice is breaking, ma'am.
Hello? The picture what is visible on your window, okay, what is it called as?
The optical.
What to? Tell again.
Yes, ma'am.
What is it called? What is the name of this?
Ma'am, your voice is lagging.
Voice is breaking.
And your voice is breaking, ma'am. I'm not.
Okay, somebody else can answer. Neha?
Ma'am, it's. Hello?
Hello, yeah, tell me, Shanil.
Optable.
Optable, yes, correct, good. So this is called as optable. Okay, somebody texted you saying that it is optable. Okay, you should be
Ma'am, optable.
yes, optable, it is operation code table. Okay, so I've just scanned and kept so that
Yes,
you don't have to rely on the textbook. Done, ba? So this is the code what I showed in a Word document, same thing. Okay, so this is what you will be learning next. Done. So next is my pass 1 and pass 2. Shall these things, I know I don't want to read from here, okay, because I will be teaching you people with the problem, okay, so that here just reading doesn't make sense. Done. So we'll go and learn pass 1 and pass 2 algorithm, okay, fine. So what I suggest is, instead of me teaching pass 1 and pass 2 algorithm, okay, is it audible to everybody? Everybody is listening? Yes? Okay. So what I want you people to do is, this problem I'll be teaching. Okay, fine. So this is what I want. Okay. I can read out, but I don't want to do that. Okay. So before coming to tomorrow's class at 3 o'clock, okay, all of you have to copy the pass 1 algorithm, okay, 1 page or how many page it takes for you people, and pass 2, okay, pass 2 has to be written, then followed by the programs what I am posting, questions. This will be posted for you people, okay. Just after completing this session, I'll be posting this, okay. So what you have to do is, you copy this question, leave 1 page. 1 page is enough. I've written 2 pages. 1 page you leave because this is my SIC architecture, okay. And copy the next question, leave 1 page to do it tomorrow, okay. and then copy the third question, and that's the end. So 2 I will be teaching, and the third one you people have to do. Okay, fine. So what is the requirement for tomorrow's class? You have to write pass 1 algorithm and pass 2 algorithm and come along with the questions what I will be posting now. Okay, is it okay for all of you? Yes, is it okay? Somebody has to say yes or no. Yes, ba? Yes, Nandini. Nandini is there? Somewhat. Vidya. Vidya? Hello? Hello? Vidya is there? Hello, Vidya?
Yes, ma'am.
I hope you understood what I said. What you people have to do tomorrow?
Yes, ma'am.
What you
Yes, ma'am.
what you people have to do
Yes,
before
ma'am.
coming to tomorrow's class?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
That's what I'm asking. What you people have to do?
Yes, ma'am.
You have to say what you have to do.
Yes, ma'am.
Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Only all of you are saying yes, yes. What you have to do?
Yes, ma'am.
Huh?
Hello,
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
I hope you understood what I said. What you people have to do tomorrow?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so please copy this.
What you people have to do before coming to
algorithm 1 and algorithm 2, that is pass 1 and pass 2.
tomorrow's class?
Okay, then
That's what
copy
I'm
the questions and come.
asking. What you people have to do?
Yes,
You have to say
Sushmita
what you have to do, no? Yes. Yes, sir. Only all of you are saying yes, yes. What you have to do?
Parse 1 and parse 2 algorithm.
and parse 2 algorithm.
Okay, good girls, good. Okay, so you copy and come so that it will be easy for me, because this is
That is
what you need.
algorithm 2. That is parse 1 and
Parse 2.
Pass 2. Okay, this is what is required for me tomorrow, this whole thing from here. Okay, so this is very important.
So, okay, this is what is required for me tomorrow, this whole thing from here. Okay, so this is very important.
Done? Shall we close the session?
Now, shall we close the session?
Yes. Mithun?
Yes.
Mithun is not there.
Mithun is not there.
Yes, ma'am.
Mithun is not
Can you
there.
tell
He has
again?
left somewhere.
I got disconnected.
He has left somewhere. I got disconnected.
No, ma'am.
No. Okay. So what is homework for tomorrow?
Okay.
Homework?
So, what is homework for tomorrow? Homework?
Your voice is lagging, ma'am.
Your voice is lagging, ma'am.
Is it audible now?
Is it audible now?
Hello?
It's
Hello?
audible.
It's audible.
Is it audible now? Yes?
Is it audible now? Yes, ma'am. Yes.
What you have to do? I want all of you to answer.
What do you have
it
to
should
do?
be
I
there
want
on
all
your-
of you to answer because it should be there
on your scripts.
on your scripts.
Yes? Shall we end the session? Shall we end the session?
Yes. Shall we end the session?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, fine. Thank you all. Okay.
Shall we end the
Tomorrow,
session?
3 o'clock.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Join with me tomorrow 3 o'clock for problems. Okay.
Okay, fine.
Pass
Thank
one
you
and
all.
pass two
Okay,
will just
so
do.
tomorrow 3 o'clock. Okay, join with me tomorrow 3 o'clock for problems. Okay, fine. Pass 1 and pass 2 will just do.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, ba. Thank you. Thank you. Please copy and come.